Hello, this is Lights Out with Sylvia Shults. I'm your host, Sylvia Shults. I've been a paranormal investigator for several years. I've always loved a good true ghost story, but it wasn't until I started doing research for my own nonfiction book that I realized I could be an investigator myself. That first book was Ghosts of the Illinois River, which came out in 2010. I'll tell you more about some of those experiences in later shows. Now, though, I want to introduce you to my favorite haunted place ever. Are you ready to go lights out? The Peoria State Hospital in Bartonville is a perfect storm of things that will cause a place to be haunted. The first Europeans in the area, the French at Fort Crèvecoeur, wrote in their officers' reports that there was a Native American presence at the site that is now Bartonville. Investigators have captured recordings of drumming and snatches of what sounds like Native American speech. In paranormal circles, limestone is considered to be a good indicator of paranormal activity. Limestone is made of the calcified skeletons of microscopic sea creatures compressed over the eons into solid rock. This matrix, formed from once living organisms, seems to be a good conductor of supernatural energy. The hilltop on which the Peoria State Hospital stands is rich in limestone. The Bowen Building, which we'll be exploring later in the show, was built with limestone blocks from the oldest quarry in the United States. But the most compelling reason that this little corner of Illinois is one of the most haunted places in the world is simply this. The patients at the Peoria State Hospital received excellent care. One of the early superintendents of the asylum, Dr. George Zeller, took charge of the hospital when it was still called the Illinois Asylum for the Incurable Insane. He went to the Illinois Senate and demanded that they change the name to the Peoria State Hospital. His reason? You do not tell my patients they are incurable. I'm here to do just that. George and his wife Sophie were childless. The inmates of the asylum were their children. At its height, the asylum comprised 65 buildings. Today, 13 of those buildings remain. Many have been repurposed. The old gymnasium and dance hall is now a country music dance bar. Life goes on. But 2 of the buildings of the asylum remain much as they were when the state closed the hospital in 1973. The Pollock Hospital, the tuberculosis ward of the asylum, is now owned by the Limestone High School Junior Football League. They put on a rockin' haunted house every October. The rest of the year, the Pollock is open to investigators. We'll be exploring the Pollock in a later show. During this show, we'll be poking around the Bowen Building. The Bowen was built in 1902 to replace the first building of the asylum. The asylum was originally built on the Kirkbride plan, which is where one big building houses all the inmates of the asylum. This is not ideal. You could be suffering from a bad case of the glums while your roommate was a raving schizophrenic. Hardly conducive to regaining mental health. At Bartonville, the Kirkbride building was even less ideal. It was built on top of a coal mine, with shoddy material, by workmen with connections to the Chicago mob. When Dr. Zeller toured the building before he left to serve in the Spanish-American War, he was unhappy even then with the fact that there was no ventilation in the building. But it was the cracks in the foundation of the brand new building that caused the village board to have the building torn down before a patient even set foot in it. Between 1902 and 1908, the Bowen was used to house criminally insane women. Now, when we say criminally insane, our first thought is that these women were violent. That's not necessarily the case. Back in the day, patients weren't always admitted to an asylum on the advice of a doctor. It was a court and a judge who recommended committal. Many of these women were, perhaps, battered wives who fought back against their abuser, or mothers suffering from postpartum depression who tried to harm their children. The point is, in the 6 years these women were housed in the Bowen Building, there were no reports of violence against either the staff or other patients. And the women were allowed to keep their children with them until the age of 4. From 1908 to 1937, the Bowen Building was the site of the finest nursing college in the country. At the beginning of the school year, the number of students registered usually exceeded the number of dorm rooms. The overflow students were lodged on cots in the attic. As students dropped out, due to the rigorousness of the training program, the overflow students were moved down from the attic into proper dorm rooms on the lower floors. This arrangement actually gave rise to one of the more charming spirits who call the Bowen home. On October 4th, 1915, a housekeeper named Anne M. Stewart fell ill while on the job. She was taken to her room, where she slipped into a coma and died a few days later. Anne Stewart may still be going about her housekeeping duties. If you sit very quietly in the attic of the Bowen Building, you may, if you're lucky, hear a shuffling around you, the purposeful sounds of someone tidying up. And if you are very lucky, this unseen person will start to sing as she goes about her work. The song she sings to keep herself entertained is always the same. It's Ave Maria. Dr. George Zeller himself passed away in his third-floor apartment in the Bowen in 1938. A few months before his death, in his final illness, he was interviewed by several reporters, who asked him why he didn't go to Peoria for the treatment of his pneumonia. Dr. Zeller answered, "Here I'm surrounded by the finest nurses and the prettiest women in the world. Why would I go anywhere else?" From 1937 to 1967, the Bowen Building served solely as living quarters for the nurses. In 1967, the building was remodeled. The spacious, airy classrooms and day rooms were sectioned off into cubicles, and it became the administration building. After the asylum closed in 1973, the Bowen became the focus of vandals, and worse. The visibility of the Bowen, sitting all by itself at the top of the hill, became its downfall. Kids bent on destruction focused on the Bowen Building. Good for the other buildings that were spared, bad for the Bowen. Paperwork was strewn all over office floors. Windows were broken out. Copper pipes were ripped away. Gurneys, chairs, desks were stolen or just destroyed. Worse even than that, Satanists broke into the building to hold dark ceremonies in the basement, drawn to the creep factor of the morgue. The basement is the most haunted part of the Bowen Building, due to the negative energies gathered there by fools who tried to call up energies they couldn't control. I visited the Bowen in October 2011 during an all-night ghost hunt on the grounds. At that time, the interior of the building was strictly off-limits due to the asbestos, but ghost hunters were allowed free run of the outside. At about midnight, I was standing next to an open window that leads to the boiler room in the basement. Here's what we heard.
Oh, you got a flashlight. I was like, you heard that, right?
I did, yes.
I heard that.
Oh, it's over in that one.
You heard it over there, too?
Yeah, no, it's right down
Oh, wait, no, that's not the hallway. There's one that... There's a window there.
That came from inside the building.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding the flashlight steady. I'm trying not to make any shadows for you.
I just want to reach my hand.
Can you make that sound for us again?
No way! Holy crap. No freaking way. I heard that from back here.
Holy shit. Oh my god. I just got shivers like all over my body.
In there. It sounded like someone threw a bolt. Like a big bolt and just... Put your recorder right there.
About 5 minutes later, whatever it was, decided to let us know it was still down there. We've been listening at this window for about 5 minutes or so.
The first minute we were here, sounded like someone threw a bolt.
Yeah, somebody threw something.
Yeah, we...
You got that.
Did you hear that?
I heard that. I heard it all the way over here.
Earlier that same evening, I was chatting with a couple of other women at the back of the Bowen Building. The thing to remember about this particular October evening was that about 200 people had shown up for this all-night ghost hunt. They divided up into 4 groups, which rotated between the outside of the Bowen Building and the 3 cemeteries. That weekend was also the first weekend that the Pollock Hospital, about a block away, had started off their haunted infirmary haunted house. So there were a lot of people in that particular little corner of Bartonville. At about 10 o'clock that evening, I was standing at the back of the Bowen Building talking with 2 other women. Just the 3 of us standing around talking at that point, no one else around. I had my recorder going to capture stories as people told them to me, but at that particular moment, the 3 of us were alone, having a conversation. But when I listened to the recording later on, I realized that we weren't alone at all.
This is what I paid for.
I'll play that for you again.
This is what I paid for.
Now, when I listened to the recording later and heard that man's voice underneath our conversation saying, "There's too many people here, there's too many people here," my jaw absolutely just hit the table. I was stunned that I'd caught such a wonderful EVP, and I felt really, really bad because I pictured this guy in a hospital robe just wringing his hands in distraction saying, "Oh, there's too many people here, there's too many people here."
This is what I paid for.
Just recently, I took a tour of the Bowen. Our guide, Donna, showed us around.
We get a lot of activity from the kids in here. That's why all the toys are sitting around, so beware. There are balls and cars and... Wow, all balls are over in the corner. That's weird.
Are they usually scattered around?
Last night they were everywhere.
Fun.
In here. We were playing with them.
Uh-huh.
And this is the corner where they like to come and sing. We
Really?
had one group, this girl started to sing on Rosie, and Jerry caught on his EVP a weird voice singing along with her.
Well, we went to the basement first and spent a bit of time in the morgue.
They're all over the top of this hill, I'm told. They had to seal most of them up because with the nowadays vehicles, the big SUVs and trucks, and because they got a big trucking company right across the road over there, and they drive those semis, so you can't take those over tunnels; they fall in.
Yeah.
So they've filled them all in and closed them all off because people have climbed in them and froze to death over the winter, and kids have gotten lost in them.
Yeah.
So. They are very spooky. There was a weird mist coming up out of it last night. I mean, I know
Really?
the temperature was changing with the wind and all last night, but usually you can see the steps that go down, and last night you couldn't because there was such a heavy mist in there.
Oh, wow.
And I know it's probably full of water too, to tell you the God's honest truth, because of all the rain. The remodel in the 60s, they built the new stairs down there.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the wall, you can see where the handrail left an imprint on the brick, or the paint, or something did. That there would be the switchboard room. 66 buildings, they had to have a lot of phones.
Yeah. Huh.
Most of it has gotten scrapped, of course, because of all the copper wires and stuff in them, but there's a few still hanging on the wall.
Sure. Donna was one of the kids who used to go exploring in the Bowen. She had her own opinions, though, on the vandalism that went on there.
Every time when I got brought over here when I was a teenager, high school and Pekin, because everybody wanted to get scared.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll make you one condition if you guys don't mess nothing else up, because I already knew what it looked like. There's like an inch of mud over there, so be careful. And they listened to me, so they didn't graffiti or nothing. Because I told them, I said, if you do, I'll leave and I'll call the cops on you.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't get in trouble for breaking and entering at that point, because there was no doors or nothing to break into. They had already fallen in and gotten broken, so I wasn't going to be part of the vandalism.
Yeah. As we went to different floors of the building, Donna told us about experiences volunteers have had in the halls and rooms of this abandoned place. So do any of the spirits in here, Sarah and the kids and the white lady, do any of them come out during the day, or is it just in the evening?
Oh, no. We've caught things during the day, too.
Really?
Yep. We've had people.
Now, if you see anything, you'd let us know, right?
Well, we've passed a few. They like to stand just on the other side of that doorway for some reason.
have we passed them and you... Tonight? Today, this afternoon? Why didn't you say anything?
You don't get goose pimples or nothing?
No.
And we're not sure. We still haven't figured it out. We hear lots of things in here, though, because on the other side of it is our little closet that we keep our spare T-shirts and books and stuff in.
Yeah.
And we often hear things in here. And it looks like the old staircase ran down there.
Yes, it does.
See the railing?
I do.
Marks for the railing? Yeah. Well, that would explain the footsteps we hear.
It would.
And we hear voices through the walls. And like this, shuffling of feet. And it's like, who's in there? And then we'll open up the closet door and there'll be nobody in the closet door and we'll go, who's in here? One night we went in there and it was like 20 degrees colder than the outside part. I mean, I know we keep heaters going, but it shouldn't have been that dramatic. You know what I mean? Right. You could see your breath and it was like, oh, I'm getting back out of here. That just didn't feel right.
Okay.
The old piano's down in that room.
Ah.
Several people have heard it play. Richard even heard it play a note one night.
Ooh.
His very first experience, he said.
Yeah, because I know he's famous for not having experiences.
Stays closed, so there's no running across it of critters or anything because they can't get to the keys.
Sure. I'd be very surprised. Yeah, I would be very surprised if any of the strings were... Well, it's an upright piano, and I guess, I see it is strung, so it would play after a fashion.
Oops.
That's even in tune. How long ago had this...
I don't even know who brought it here.
Because in this kind of environment, it would go out of tune really, really quickly. And it's still fairly well in tune.
You said you didn't know who brought it. Was this? If they restored this completely, I don't think there'd be any ghosts.
Oh, you'd be surprised. We just come for cleanup. I've been tapped on my shoulder. I heard somebody whisper behind me. I turned around. There was nobody there. I had to leave that room because I just...
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I see
nothing
it
ever
now.
happens to me.
But if it was really, looking like it did when it was really in use.
I don't know. We've had people that had full body apparitions where it just looks like they were going through their daily routine. So I think that imprint would still be here.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
I think they put such a strong imprint that it's just gonna keep replaying. There's a gentleman that seems to, I don't know why, but he stays here like this.
Oh, poor fella.
I don't know if he runs here to hide or...
Yeah. Donna just crouched in the corner of the room with her head down in her arms.
several of us come in here, and then we'll like do a double take, shine our flashlight over there in the corner, go, what is that? And then it's gone.
Oof. The Bowen is downright unnerving at night. Your flashlight beam plays off of the walls, where paint chips flake, and sometimes chunks of plaster have fallen away. Even in the daytime, there's an air of weary melancholy to the place. The vandals have had 40 years to add their graffiti to the walls.
Yeah.
There's graffiti on the wall saying, "I died in this room, 5/29/98."
Evidently.
Oh, right there, yeah, okay. If you're crazy like me, call blah, 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 blah. Ask for Bobby. Good grief. There's graffiti here on the wall that says, "Give me my cookies already, damn it." The attic is the most peaceful part of the building. On a sunny day, the two big rooms, one at each end of the building, are flooded with natural light. The brick walls give the spacious rooms a hip, cosmopolitan, big city apartment feel. The graffiti and the crumbling plaster seem worlds away instead of one floor down. I haven't yet heard Ann Stewart singing Ave Maria up there, but every time I go, my fingers are crossed. I did, however, hear someone moving around in an unused stairwell. I wonder where the other group is.
Probably down in the basement.
Okay.
Why did you hear?
Because I
something
just heard
else?
footsteps on the steps there.
We do quite often.
Okay, good.
We haven't been using that steps because the
Yeah.
old lights and stuff have been falling down. So
Right.
it's like Kyle or somebody put a board up there and knocked some more stuff down. But I don't like the looks of that light fixture myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to wear it. I block my head enough. I don't need things falling on it.
I hope you've enjoyed your visit to the Bowen Building, part of the Peoria State Hospital. For more information, feel free to check out my book, Fractured Spirits, Hauntings at the Peoria State Hospital, available on Amazon, and visit the Fractured Spirits fan page on Facebook. Join me next time when we'll explore another one of the asylum's buildings, the extremely haunted Pollock Hospital. Until then, this is your host, Sylvia Shults, saying, lights out.